Hey friends, it's Jessica here, and just touching base, checking in with you, seeing how your resting is going. Still working on my 40 days of rest. So it's been a little over a week for me. And I've made space in the afternoon as much as I can just to have some time to crawl in bed mostly, although some days it's not always in bed that it ends up. It might be on my yoga mat or in a car if we've had an adventure or two where I had to rest in the car. So mostly it's pretty lovely. I will say that sometimes I feel kind of guilty, and I think that's just something that our society has ingrained in us, that resting means you're lazy and you're not worthwhile if you're lazy, if you're not producing. And that's a very capitalist point of view. I'm not saying that capitalism is wrong necessarily, but it starts to trickle down into our bodies and our self-worth. So resting is important because you have time to rest, to focus on what is most important in your life. And I also want to share that the past few years, I've really focused on, amongst some other things, like trying to figure out what my purpose is. And I mean, this is probably something that we all struggle with our whole entire lives. Like, why are we here? What do we do? And I've recently come to this realization that I'm a human and I'm an animal, and my evolutionary purpose is really survival, just like staying alive and keeping my children alive. So I don't know, that realization made me think like, oh, like beyond that, I don't really have to have a purpose. I think there are different interpretations of purpose. I don't necessarily think it always means the same thing. I mean, there is probably a greater universal purpose that we all serve, and that's probably the one I'm struggling to identify, although I don't know that I'll recognize that in my existence here on Earth. So that said, I look at small things like, what is my purpose for today or this time period in my life? Like, what do my children need out of me? Is my purpose to be a mother, a wife? It's all of those things, really. But sometimes those different aspects need more focus. I used to have a job. Yoga teaching is my job and has been for like 10 years. It's pretty minimal right now since I'm, helping my kids do their virtual school. Prior to yoga teaching, I had a corporate job. I know that someday I'll go back into that world or into a library maybe. Or maybe I'll do yoga and healing work. I don't know. I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but I've sort of eased off of like trying to figure out what it is I have to do, and knowing that that evolves and changes, and that I don't always have to do what everyone else says that I need to do, that I don't have to make a certain amount of money to be worthwhile or to constantly be working, because I am constantly working already, even though I don't get paid for most of the work that I do. So that said, I just want you to know that you are deserving of rest. Rest helps you focus on whatever your purpose may be, and that very purpose may just be survival. And I know that right now, being in quarantine 10 months into COVID, that's what many of us are doing, is just struggling to survive. So we can all make space for rest. You are deserving of rest. And this video is preceding another video recording that I did. It's about 14 minutes long. It's pranayama and meditation. So that's breath work and meditation. And I hope you enjoy it. Feel free to drop a note just letting me know how things are going. I meant to say this earlier. So sometimes resting makes me feel lazy. I don't necessarily always feel better right after I rest. But know that even in the yoga practice, when we do things that are hard, sometimes it feels great, and sometimes it takes a while to get through things. It starts to bring things up that don't necessarily feel comfortable. So I'm sticking with it, even though it doesn't always feel like as restorative as I think it should. So overall, I am feeling better about it, and I'm just making that space because I know that I need it. I know that the people that matter to me need it, and I know that the world needs it. So thanks for joining me in this. Share your feedback.